in the garden, I can get away from the corruption of a system which I believe is not working. I didn't start gardening till later in life, and my grandfather was kind of a master gardener. I've come to recognize as I've gotten older is how spiritual gardening is. When I'm gardening, I have to look and plan, what plants are going to look like. I'm aware of my relationship with a higher power. And the thing about gardening is you get a very good rate of return. You plant a little seed, and that little seed grows into a plant if you nurture it. Now, that's very different when you compare it to our economy.
Right now, breaking news here, stocks all around the world are tanking because of the crisis on Wall Street.
Well, I can tell you already that the Dow is expected to open down 300 points this morning, Robin. So that gives you an indication of how jittery the markets are.
Seattle police and the King County Sheriff's Office tried to physically remove this disabled vet last Friday, but because of overwhelming protests, they have given up for now. Jeff Van Sant joins us now with this story.
Yeah, guys, so many people face eviction these days, especially after the housing crisis in 2008.
Unlike our soil, people actually lose money and other people take the money. In a garden, that doesn't happen. One of the reasons we have law, supposedly, is because that law is supposed to be predictable. But the truth is, men's laws aren't very predictable. And especially when you're dealing with the wealthy against the poor, with the banks against the homeowners. I mean, the laws of evidence don't work when the bank comes in and says, I hold the note. They do so through their attorney, not through any witness. And then the court just says, oh, you must hold the note because you're a bank. Now, if that were just regular people there, they'd have to put on evidence for it. People can't afford to fight. For example, they did a study of Washington residents, the Supreme Court of Washington did, and they found that almost a decade ago, or more than a decade ago, that 85% of the people could not afford a lawyer on issues they found important. I'm glad I can be a lawyer. I'm glad I can help people. The courts have denigrated the position of lawyers. In the beginning, lawyers were a bedrock of our society. And lawyers would do some heroic things. It was Patrick Henry that said, I know not what course others may take, but as for me, give me liberty or give me death. They had a lot of influence on the shaping of our Constitution. And one of the hallmarks of our Constitution, which our government has taken away, is the role lawyers were supposed to play. For example, when our Constitution was written, a jury could nullify a judge's verdict. So the lawyers were in a position of power. They could speak to the jury and not the judge. And it was the jury that made decisions. I mean, when the United States Constitution was first adopted, it was lawyers that started and wrote the Declaration of Independence. It was lawyers that wrote our Constitution. And their notion of government was much different than we're taught in school. There were the three checks. There was the executive, there was the legislative branch, and there was the judicial branch. But the final check on government was supposed to be the people. And that check was through a jury of the peers. What happened over time is the Supreme Court started whittling away at juries, the right to a jury. They gave the judges the right to be gatekeepers to the jury. And that is problematic. Like, for example, in Washington, less than 0.5% of our cases actually are tried to a jury. It's been my experience over the 66 years of my existence that plants and the things that God produces work better to heal. Both heal the spirit, heal the body, because they're living things, uncorrupted by man's hand.